Hello and welcome to Boomer 11. And today we're going to be covering all the matches that have happened thus far. And also the next match that is coming right up in a few minutes, which is Portugal versus Uruguay. An interesting matchup right there is Luis Suarez versus Cristiano Ronaldo, the two giants of the game. Definitely Ronaldo and his team have begun well, and so have Uruguay. But things are not going to be as easy, coming up in this match because this is the title clash, you would say, of this group. Definitely. We're also going to be talking about the match which has just gotten over, where Brazil has made it 6 points in 2 matches, and that means that they are almost through to the next round. I have with me Abel right here. Abel, let's look at the matches first that have happened today. What was one of your best moments? Because we had some great matches, right?
Yeah. I mean, for me, actually, the first game between Serbia and Cameroon was top notch. It was a 3-all game. If I've talked about the second game, I thought Korea were extremely unlucky to not equalize it. It was a game which Korea came very close to. This could have well
Yeah.
been a 3-all game, and that it was that kind of a day in football. And when it came to Switzerland, it was a Brazil game. I thought Brazil did dominate the game in majority of that. But at the same time, Switzerland got that opportunity. I personally thought they should at least convert a couple of them or at least one. And for Brazil, they'll be pretty pleased with the result they got today. They come up against a very solid Swiss team because you know what the Swiss team can do. They can put in a real big effort and churn out those results before even you realizing it. And that's exactly what was happening today. Until unless until that moment of brilliance which Casemiro scored, it had to take a moment of brilliance to take the lead, break the deadlock. I know Brazil already did score with that offside goal of Vinny Jr., but then Brazil did not get when put down by that when the goal was disallowed. They kept at it. They knew they would be able to create the chance, and they absolutely did. They capitalized with complete perfection.
Yeah, you're right. We already have Aisha on the live saying that she's understanding a little bit of football. I hope we've contributed somewhat to it. And yeah, Brazil did go on to win 1-0. Let's start with that match itself then, Abel. 1-0, of course, a performance where, you felt like there was a lot of, it was not as easy to break the Swiss defense. And it did take them a while, 83 minutes before that goal came. I know Vinny Jr. had that one goal which was disallowed. But how good was the Swiss defense? Because it's not easy to defend against this Brazilian team because their attack is full of superstars.
I mean, yeah, Judge, and especially if you talk about Brazilian attack, one side it showed its versatility, especially them trying to create those with the likes of Vinny Jr. on the left hand side. The fact is that the kind of pace they can generate on the wings, very few teams can actually beat that pace. When you have Rafinha and Vinny Jr. on your wings, and if you're trying to play compact against a Brazilian team, they will try to create the width, and they did create the width today time and time again, especially with Rafinha as well. You saw a lot of opportunity which Rafinha was getting when he was running through the flanks. There was nobody to even come behind him. That's also primarily because they wanted to block Brazil's penetration through the central region, so they did give space on the width on the flanks. Yeah, that's something which you shouldn't be doing with this current crop of Brazilian team, because with this current crop, likes of Rafinha and Vinicius Jr., you give them that kind of width, they are going to explode in with the pace, and that's what you saw time and time again. Vinicius Jr. had a very good game, not statistically because he did not really get into a lot of goal involvement, but in the way he was providing the width, trying to put the ball into the box, he was creating a threat. And for Rafinha as well, Rafinha did put in a shift on the right hand side. He did do a lot of defensive cover as well. If you look at his game today, so Brazil will be highly pleased with the kind of performance they had. Remember, there is no Neymar in the squad, so it was important for them to get that
Yeah.
win, steal a spot in the knockout. And once in the knockout, you have to just face maybe who most likely it's going to be Uruguay or Portugal, and they'll be pleased to face either of them. You're on mute, Jen.
Yeah, sorry. That's something we'll find out today, right? Abel, in the upcoming match in Uruguay versus Portugal, probably will decide that table toppers of that particular group. But let's speak about the lineup that we had today in on the Brazilian side, and it was Rafinha who came in place of Neymar, who is going through that injury period, which is ruled him off the group stage matches, at least from what we know right now. And how great was his performance? I mean, you already mentioned about some of the things that he did, but how important was it for Brazil to be able to replace someone like Neymar, and how grateful should they be that the kind of depth that they have in their team is the fact that you have a Barcelona, I mean, a first 11 player from Barcelona be your substitute.
I mean, I personally thought Rafinha. I think Rafinha even started the last game, so it was not surprised that Rafinha started this game because he fits right into the system, and he has been starting over Anthony in this team because of what he can do with his defensive cover as well. You've seen that with Rafinha; he can put in a shift time and time again. Today, you saw Lucas Paqueta also have a very good game in terms of what he was able to do a lot more. He was much more versatile. I think it was Fred who started instead of Neymar today. It was Fred who came instead of Neymar, and he did not have the best of games, but then the system was slightly tweaked because Fred is more of a defensive midfielder, so it was more like a 4-1-2-4. That's the kind of system which they went in with, where you had Lucas Paqueta playing in that Neymar's role of a free roaming midfielder where you could penetrate through. He was trying to make those in behind runs time and time again. So with Richarlison up there top, you need strikers, you need wingers who can give you that width and put the ball in. And also, I keep saying, they move in with a five. They move that in the attacking transition. They often try to create that four-man attacking transition or a five-man attacking transition, and they try to overload certain areas as well, especially when it comes to them trying to create space to the central region. They try to overload the right hand region, which they tried to do a lot today. They tried to overload the right hand region so that they could create space through the center, in which someone like a Lucas Paqueta could make the runs, or Richarlison could make the runs. That's something which they did quite well. But you'll also have to give credit to someone like you'll have to also give credit to the Swiss team. They did not really let their guard off throughout the course of the 90 minutes. They came at it. They went at the Brazilian team. They waited for those opportunities. They knew they'll get a couple of opportunities here and there, and they'll have to make the most out of it. So, all in all, a game where I personally thought, both teams had their chances, but the one who capitalized better went on to win. But when it comes to Swiss team, I thought they did not really even try Allison at any stage. They took shots, but then nothing was on target. So it's so important to test your keeper time and time again, in order to keep him in check, to make sure that there could be a possible, maybe a ricochet, maybe a deflection, which should also come in, like you saw with that goal, right? Casemiro did score, but then it came off a deflection of a defender of the Switzerland team. So that's important. So it's important to take those shots, especially when you're 1-0 down, which I did not see from the Switzerland team. And the best thing about the Brazilian team is, even when they're 1-0 up, they just kept pushing. They just went to the opposition half, final third. They want to create more chances. They almost came very close to scoring that second goal when Rodrigo just missed it. It was because of Akanji's brilliant clearance. Also, it could have well been a 2-0 result at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, could have really turned around that game for Brazil. But I was looking at some of the shot. I mean, the statistics, right? And there are 13 shots that Brazil's taken, out of which five were on target. On the other hand, and that means there was a lot of hard work for Jan Sommer and the defense. On the other hand, Switzerland took six shots, but none of them hit the target, and that's probably the point. That's exactly the point that you mentioned, Abel, right there. Another thing that you'll notice is the fact that there were, I mean, Brazil made a lot more passes throughout the match. And if you pull out the stat, where if you look at the passing of Brazil that led to that goal right there, it will, can you read me through this passing map right here? And how important is this, the kind of passing? Especially we see this on the right hand side, I mean, on the left hand side, where the kind of traffic that Brazil has been producing.
I mean, to be very honest, if you look at that map in itself, I'll tell you one thing, that Brazil were able to create a lot more chances by giving the width, as I mentioned, and then they were trying to penetrate through that region, and that's where you have to give credit to someone like an Alexandro. He had a brilliant game as a left back. He did put in a shift today. If you look at his heat map alone, sorry, this is Kramaric from yesterday. I just put in Alexandro's heat map right now for you people to understand what kind of day did he have on the field. I thought he had one of the best days as a defender. Though he looked like he did not contribute a lot when it comes to attacking play, but then he was making a shift on the left hand side, which also made sure Vinny was able to control cut in, and it also provided the width on the left hand region. And also in defensive transition, he was pretty quick to cover up. That's the kind of wing back you need, especially when your weakest suit is the wing back region. You need players to put in a shift, and you can see the heat map in the attacking phases towards the final third in the opposition half. He did have an impact today, and there were situations where he did cut in, he did come in as a number 8 in attacking transitions. So he had a brilliant game. I thought he was one of the most impactful player in today's game, Alexandro, and that's what you get from him as well. After a long time, and maybe one area where Brazil is slightly weaker even now is their right back region. I still think they'll need someone to make those runs, overlap maybe Rafinha on the right hand side, which I think will be a key factor going ahead in the tournament. That's one area I thought playing Eder Militao was great, but then you need a very good customer in that right hand region to make those runs, to make sure that you create width on the right hand side, and also to going ahead, no, and also to make sure that there are chances created from that end. Or else it could become very predictable that Rafinha will have no
Yeah.
support on the right hand region. Though Eder Militao makes those runs, but it is not effective enough because his attacking acumen is comparatively lesser compared to maybe Alexandro on the left or any other right back in the opposition team.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why when we look at that goal there, right? I mean, that was scored towards the end by Casemiro. You realize that there is a lot more traffic on the left hand side. Most of the passes are on the left hand side, especially the ones that are in the final third before that goal comes in. And that's pretty much the point that you raised, right? That there's a little bit of a flaw, you would say, on the right hand side for Brazil. But we did spoke about Alexandro. Let's delve deep into his into his performance, right? And he's played 85 minutes total, out of which he's had a passing accuracy of 88.5, 93 touches, and 7 tackles. So this is pretty much a complete performance from a right back, isn't it? From a
Yeah,
left back,
I
sorry.
mean, as a left back, he had a wonderful game today, especially when it comes to him putting in that work rate. As I keep telling it's so important in a team like Brazil. You need a wing backs to contribute a lot more. That will make them a much more solid team than what they are right now. I put up his stats once more now. We have chosen him as our boomer level impact player for this game because the metric of choosing him as a impact player is basically on his performance he has put in, the work rate he had put in, the number of tackles he had, number of touches he had, and especially in work rate. He in a 1-0 win, you often need to look at, it's tough actually to pick one player because uh, you often tend to go towards the goal scorer who broke the deadlock, but then you had to go into a player who had a terrific day out there on the field because he was putting in those work uh, on the attacking transitions, on the defensive work rate, and also for him to come in and create some chances as well. And look at him on the right hand region of the Swiss team. They had no attacking plays which came through that area, primarily because of Alexandro being a rock solid defensive cover there. Him actually putting in a very good effort, and also when it comes to the Brazilian team on the left hand region, you knew that Vinicius could really get that support from behind, and Vinicius could make those runs. Vinicius could cut inside the box because he knew Alexandro was right behind him. If at all there is an attacking play which is generated from that particular wing, Alexandro was pretty rock solid. Hence, he's our boomer 11 impact player of the day.
Yeah, rightly picked so because he did help a lot when it comes to ball progression and that passing accuracy, and the fact that it took 93 touches in the game shows that he was actively involved in that whole match. And we spoke about his heat map as well. But let's look at the XG progression all throughout the match. And when we look at it, Rival, in that first half itself, you knew that it was Brazil who was really ranking. I mean, cranking it up. Cranking the music up. It was very difficult for the Swiss team to keep defending them because they kept coming again and again and again. I mean, till the 30th minute. I mean, you would say 25th minute. It seemed like. I mean, Switzerland were slightly ahead in terms of their XG, but not a lot. But right after that, and from then on, it really was, Brazil all the way. And 83rd minute goal of Casemiro was just a formality by the end of it. 1.2 xg opposed to 0.3 xg. you would say that at least in terms of the XG metric of XG, the game is a fair result.
I think for that you also need to look into this graph. Look at the number of shots taken by Switzerland inside Brazilian half and number of shots taken by Brazil inside Switzerland's box. That in itself says the number of expect goal expectancy. What is XT? XT is all about goal expectancy rate. It's how threatening you can be inside the box, how many shots you can have on target. And when you look into that particular metric or particular graph, you can understand that it is Brazil who had numerous number of shots inside the box, and also it's Brazil who did create most number of chances to get into to penetrate into the box and most number of shots on target. So cumulatively calculating all that, Brazil had a better XG. Hence, they also got that one goal. They could have possibly scored 3 or 4 in that match because. If not for Jan Sommer's brilliance between the six, this could have well been a 4 goal win for Brazil because they did create a lot of chances, and one of them was ruled out to be offside as well, which I thought was
Yeah.
another clear example of how threatening Brazil can be in terms of attacking transitions, in terms of their attacking play, them penetrating through the defense and making those quick runs. Because with Brazil team, they don't make slow runs or they don't counterattack in a slow pace manner. They counterattack quickly. They counterattack at a pace where they could penetrate right into the box and create a chance from there on with in a whisker of a second. That's primarily because you have Vinicius Junior and Richarlison who are supremely quick, and also you have Rafinha who's as quick as them. So that is the biggest strength of the Brazilian team at this point.
Yeah, I mean, well spoken there. It will, a very good example also of what you spoke about, right? I mean, because Switzerland, none of these shots that were taken by Switzerland even hit the target really. So it shows the kind of what you said. I mean, defensively as well, it was not easy for Switzerland to really get through. And when you take only 6 shots and compared to which your opposition's taken double the amount of shots, and you have not been able to hit the target at all, it means you never really were a threat to your opposition's defensive line, and it just showed in that case, wasn't it? Abel?
Yeah, that's something which I think Switzerland will look to improve even in the last game when they came up against the Cameroon side. There were opportunities. They did create one, they did score one, but at the same time, they did not look highly threatening against even the Cameroon team. So that's something which they'll have to ponder upon. I know today's loss wouldn't really hurt them a lot, but then they're coming up against a very good Serbian side. Even today, they put up
Yeah.
a very strong performance against the Cameroonian setup. So you can't take that Serbian side lightly at all. They will punish you if you don't convert your chances, and you'll have to be more braver in terms of pushing inside the box, trying to make those in behind runs. Players like Embolo, players like Granit Xhaka will really have to put in a work where Switzerland can really, inch ahead and put their noses in front.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Well spoken about that, Abel. Now let's just move on to the previous match that before happened right before this one, because I think we have almost covered everything in this case. But let's talk about the match that happened right before. This was a match between South Korea and Ghana. An excellent, excellent match, wasn't it? Because it kept us on the tiptoes, especially in the second half, where a lot of goals came in. South Korea, what do you say, equalized in a very short amount of time. And the first goal by, I think it's Gyu Sung, if I'm pronouncing it rightly.
Yeah.
He scored the first goal on the 50th minute and 58th minute. Then the 61st minute, 3 minutes you had equalized. But then 7 minutes later, Mohammad Kudus scores the winning goal of this match, and it really broke South Korean hearts. Right, it tried so hard. There were so many crosses, so many corners towards the end of the end of that half, and you did see that the South Korean manager being sent off because of the protest when the whistle was blown. Where I mean, South Korea did get a corner, should have gotten a corner, but the rule says, if I'm not wrong, able that the game will only be extended if there's a penalty, which in this case there wasn't,
Yeah.
and that's the reason why the game had to be stopped.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on, Jiren. The game could only extend if there's a penalty once the full time and the injury time which was added upon is over, and that's exactly what happened. There were 10 minutes which was added, and the whistle was blown at a stage where it was 10 minutes and 30 seconds. Right after that particular play was done, and I am totally in agreement with the referee over there because that's how you have to end a game because you already gave them 10 minutes, and Korea did get a lot of opportunities, especially in the last 10 minutes, to finish one here or there. But it is what it is. Ultimately, you have to say that it was Ghana who came out on top, and Ghana did have a kind of a game where they really covered almost every aspect of it. You have to feel for someone like Gyu Sung Cho. Gyu Sung Cho had an excellent game in terms of him trying to in terms of him scoring those two goals. Not just that, Korean team, after being 2-0 down, to come back and to make it 2-2 and to go down
Yeah.
fighting the way they did, you have to give credit to the Korean team and also the Ghanaian team. They did lose the last match. They did not give up at all. And Ghanaian team's finishing has been one of the most impressive things in this World Cup. The number of opportunities they create are very minimal. Now, if you look at that stat, you understand the number of opportunities they create are very minimal. But then look at it: 3 shots on target, 3 goals. That is what it
Yeah.
is. They've had 100% rate. They've had total in this entire tournament. They've had 5 shots on target, and sorry, they've had shots on target, and they've scored 5 goals out of that. So their record is impeccable. Whenever they shoot on target, they're trying to finish it off very well at this point. Like so, Mohamed Kudus, who did not have the best of games against Portugal, he did get carded off as well at some stage in that through the course of that game. But in this game, he did step up. He was one of the best players leading into this tournament because of the kind of season he was having with the Ajax team in Europe. For him to step up in a game like this when it was must win and to deliver, you have to give credit to him. And he had an outstanding game in terms of him covering the pitch, in terms of him trying to put in the work rate, and not just that. He also had a game where he had complete control of whatever he was doing. It didn't look like at any point that Mohammad Kudus could do anything wrong, and that is a
Yeah.
very good trait to have for a player who's controlling the midfield. He played as a number 8, number 10 role. He was allowed to roam around pretty freely, and that really helps. When you have someone like Iñaki Williams who will make those forward runs, who will stay in the box, you will need a player who will be behind him to support him, to play as a second striker at times, and also to make those free runs. And that's something which Mohamed Kudus has done brilliantly. And remember, this lad has got some serious pace as well, so he can cut past defenders pretty quickly. And he was putting in a balling performance today.
Absolutely, and that's the reason why we've picked him as our impact player of the match. But and the reasons for that is obviously the fact that in the 83 minutes that he played, he had a personal XG of 0.46, 37 touches, and a passing accuracy of 75%. But most importantly, when they went 2-0 down, Ghana, and it looked like the chips are going in the favor of South Korea, he came up with a winning goal, and that's just clutch moment, isn't it?
I agree with you totally, Jen, because it's so important to capitalize in these when it comes to these small moments, and especially to convert it big. And that's something which Mohamed Kudus did it so brilliantly. Now, if you look at that game, which he had 2 goals, XG of 46, and the kind of heat map, look at his heat map, the kind of runs he has made, the kind of work rate he has put in. It's not like he's only played in the attacking half. Even in Ghana's own half, is him going into left half spaces, trying to give support for the left back. So sorry, for the right back was so important in today's game. He did give the defensive support in the right hand region, which made Ghana a lot more solid in the back line, especially for Korea to cut in through the left hand region. Remember, for Korea in the left hand region, they have a Heung-min Son who's highly threatening. They'll have to cover him, and also not just that. For Korea, the pace is something which you have to cover, and that's why Mohamed Kudus' defensive acumen, trying to recover those balls, trying to win those balls from their own half, then to progress it attackingly. He had a very good game in that aspect, and I think he has totally arrived to the World Cup right now. He did look very nervous in the first game, but come this game, he was highly confident. He knew what he exactly had to do, and he had a terrific game on the pitch. I thought he was a man of the match in all aspects. He scored 2 goals, and in terms of his work rate, in terms of the kind of touches he had, in terms of the number of chances he created, he was a man of the match in all metrics and all aspects.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. As we spoke about him, he did contribute a lot, especially those 2 goals are important because this match was all about the goals, and he came up in the right time, scored the goal. Because if the longer it had gone, if it had gone for 10-15 minutes without a goal, you felt like South Korea is going to be really that their hand is going to be heavier because they kept going after they kept going after the Ghana defense. But that's something that was interesting to me, Abel, was the fact that Ghana scored 3 times on the counter against the South Korean attack. And I mean, can you run me through some of the reasons why, the tactical reasons why Ghana's counter-attacking strategy really worked in opposition, when employed it against a team like South Korea?
I mean, that's something they did try to do against even the Portuguese team. I'll just pull up the stats for you to see it as well. Uh, if I were to just talk about the number of shots they have taken, right? Ghanaian shots have all been inside the box and very close to the goal. That's also primarily because the number of crosses. The first goal was a free kick. It was a defensive error. But then the next two goals were pretty good in terms of them trying to create those chances, trying to pin the balls in, and then trying to score from there on. They maintain the shape and they try to break it. They try to maintain the shape, and they break on the counter the moment they receive the ball. It's pretty quick, and they invite pressure. That's a very good thing which Ghana has done through the course of this tournament. They invite pressure, which leaves space in behind for them to make those runs, especially likes of Iñaki Williams, likes of Ayu, makes those in behind runs very swiftly, and also Mohamed Kudus. So when you have so much of space to make those in behind runs in a matter of quick succession, then you tend to break pretty quickly into the opposition half and also into the opposition final third. And they've been able to create those chances with perfection. Also, because from there on, with only a couple of defenders to beat, if you pin a good ball in, more often than not, you will try to shoot it on target or finish it off pretty brilliantly. Hence, they've had good success rate, especially with shots on target, and them able to finish whatever balls they've gotten on the field inside the box.
Yeah, man. Fair enough, Abel. As you mentioned, yeah. I mean, let's speak about the next match then. I think that's pretty much it from this match. I mean, just quickly, before we talk about the whole group stage as well, because we will cover all the groups now, how they are shaping up, right before the final round of fixtures, and some of them. The first match that was
I
played
think we
today,
will cover
Cameroon.
the groups once, maybe all the three games are done for teams. But at this point, I think we have a match which will start in 13 minutes, so we have to talk about
Yeah.
today's match,
Let's
which
talk
is
about then
live
the
tonight.
same match as you speak about, right? It's Portugal versus Uruguay. If you look, Uruguay did get their first. I mean, only got 1 point out of that game. In their first match, while Portugal did get all 3 points, and it was, you would say, a thorough performance from them. But now coming against Uruguay, it isn't going to be as easy, right? Because you're going to have to face a strike partnership of Darwin Nunes and Luis Suarez.
Yeah, I would say so, especially with the Portuguese team. They did have some issues, especially in the back line. Them trying not to them actually being beaten on a couple of aerial balls. So that's going to be an issue with the that's going to be an issue or threat which they're going to face with this Uruguayan team because they're pretty good in those aerial balls. They try to pin in those balls into the final third, into the box with you having someone like a Darwin Nunes and Luis Suarez to attack it, or even Cavani, because all these players have got the ability to attack the ball and score those headers. But when it comes to the Portuguese team, for them, what's been going in their favor is a very strong creative midfield of players who've been putting in a very good job so far. Leading into this World Cup and even in that first game, someone like Bruno Fernandes did put in 2 assists. Bernardo Silva, for example, had a decent game. And also look at someone like a Ruben Neves. Ruben Neves had a very quiet game because you don't notice him because he had a very decent game and he did not make any errors. So in terms of him trying to have a very decent game, he did do that. And another player who had a very good game is How Felix. How Felix was outstanding in the last game in terms of the runs he was making, in terms of him trying to cut in, trying to give those with him. Partnering with Ronaldo is a very good move, which is made by Fernando Santos, especially in the last game. I think in today again, he is the one who's starting. And what is another thing is Cristiano Ronaldo has not yet come to the party. I know we all know he did score, but Ronaldo is making those runs beautifully so far. He's getting into positions. If he
Yeah.
gets couple of chances on his feet, he will look to finish it off, and he can be in front of goal. When you talk about Cristiano Ronaldo in front of goal, I don't think there's any dangerous striker than Cristiano Ronaldo up front. So you will need Cristiano Ronaldo to get involved. The moment he starts getting involved a lot more, then this Portuguese team looks to take a different shape. They look to be more threatening against teams like Uruguay. Then going ahead into the tournament as well, even in the round of 16, they look extremely threatening. So today they will want to win and seal a place in the round of 16 and at least confirm the first place. They know that they will not have to face someone like a Brazil, because they will certainly not have to face a resurgent Brazilian team who have been doing a very good job. They will really test this Portuguese defensive line if they come up against them. So they'll rather prefer facing a Serbian team in the round of 16, or even a Switzerland team who they certainly will believe that they can take them on. They can have a better chance against them. But then talking about the Uruguayan team on the other hand, I think last game they came very close against Korea. They had a couple of very good opportunities. Couple of the shots did hit the bar. Today, once again, the midfield is going to decide. Frede Valverde in the middle alongside Bentancur. I think it's going to be an interesting midfield to watch out for. And if they dominate the game, I think then definitely someone like Luis Suarez and David Nunes are going to get plenty of chances.
I
Then
will. I
Portugal.
mean, from what I can understand, today they're trying out Edison Cavani instead of Luis Suarez, and it's Cavani and Nunes who are starting up ahead.
Yeah, I mean that's also primarily because of the aerial threat which Cavani can give, and it's a tactical move he has gone with. And remember, Cavani can press a lot more than Luis Suarez. Cavani has been employed in multiple teams where he has played as a pressing machine. You have to also understand Cavani is in later side of 30s, but then still, on a good day, if Cavani is fully fit, he can give you those. He can give you that work rate, especially to press the defenders and to give that good shape, an attacking shape up front to partner with Darwin Nunes. And remember, especially in aerial threats, I think Cavani is going to be extremely dangerous. He will be testing in a Pepe. Remember, Pepe is starting today ahead of a Danilo, which I'm pretty surprised with, because last match they went with the Danilo who had a very good game. Now to go back to someone like a Pepe, and Nuno Mendes is back instead of Guerrero. So they have made some big changes, and once again, they've gone with the 4-3-3 today. They replaced
Yeah.
Otavio and brought William Carvalho as well, the Portuguese team. So certainly some big changes in both the camps. But once again, talking about that, I'll say that the last game, whatever you had, you didn't really have to change it up. I know you conceded 2 goals, but then you were creating a good partnership between players. You were creating a cohesive unit. You were slowly peaking with that team. Now to change it up all of a sudden, now Pepe will be against a strong presser like David Nunes or Fede Valverde. So that's why Pepe is going to be completely tested. Ruben Diaz, he's not yet looked good throughout the course of the season. Even for Manchester City, he's not really looked the player he has been because of injuries, of course. And with Cancelo, what's been happening is that when he tends to make those defensive runs and the transition is unable to come back in time, is unable to cover the entirety of the pitch and to give the defensive support. That's where Portugal is getting opened up on the left hand, on the left hand side, Portuguese right hand side, and especially when it comes to Uruguay, they will look to attack them to the left hand side. You have Matheus Oliveira, who's been having a very good season with Napoli, especially him trying to make those runs in the final third, and also I think someone like a Bentancur will try to operate in left half spaces, trying to make those in behind runs where Matheus Oliveira will give them the width.
Yeah, I mean, Abel, what do you think about Uruguay's formation? It seems they're going with 3-5-2, five in the midfield and three at the back. How do you reckon that's going to turn out on the pitch against this Portuguese team?
They're going with 3-5-2, which is a very traditional formation, but at the same time, a formation which is slightly conservative as well, which I think might work, especially when you have when you have two players who can make runs as a wing back. They have played Caceres as a right defender, right center back rather than right back. Caceres, I remember in his prime, he could make those runs. He could give you that width on the right hand side. But now with age, of course, he has become defensively much more solid, and his attacking play has definitely depleted over a period of time. That's why they've gone with the Guerremo in this game, who I think is a very good option. And also on the right hand side, you will once again have a Federico Valverde who can make those runs in behind, who can actually play as a right back if need be. He can play as a center mid, he can play as a striker, he can play as whatever you ask him to do, even as a goalkeeper if need to be. So that's what you get with the Fede Valverde in the team. which I think is going to test someone like a Nuno Mendes. Nuno Mendes has not had the most number of game time for PSG through the course of the season. He was missing out due to an injury. So this game is going to be a real threat for Portugal team. If Portugal can come out of this challenge, they'll feel a lot more confident.
Yeah, I mean, and if they do come out of this challenge, right, they are through because they won their first match, they'll win the second, and probably it'll become a competition between the other three teams to make it, and especially Ghana and Uruguay. Uruguay will be hoping they get their 3 points now and go top of the table as soon as possible, and get a stranglehold there as well. Will final thoughts then on the match. The match. I mean, we are already into the national anthems of the teams. Who do you think is going to be the one player who's going to make the impact from either side?
Um, I will say from Portugal, it's going to be definitely. Uh, I have to say Bruno Fernandes because he's looked very good in terms of him trying to create a lot more chances, and alongside him, if Bruno Fernandes creates those chances, I think someone who's going to benefit out of that is Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, I mean, exactly right. I mean, that was one partnership that you saw for Portugal that really worked. But it has been interesting, because Bruno Fernandes and Ronaldo, when they played together in Man United, were not as good a combo. But yeah, they can be a lethal combo if they get on the right wavelength.
But you know
And
what, Darren? I
Ronaldo
also
is,
think Cristiano Ronaldo is just moments away from really making a huge impact in this World Cup. You already,
yeah,
he'll
yeah,
be
absolutely.
extremely motivated now that Messi has one goal more than him in this World Cup, and Messi scoring that wonder goal against Mexico. He's going to be extremely motivated because Cristiano Ronaldo looks for these kind of motivations to really come up as a
Yeah,
player,
yeah.
and that's
Agreed.
fair play to him. Players look for different motivations in a sporting field to get
And I
them
mean,
going.
some of the Portuguese players, Bruno Fernandes has come out and said, right, that Ronaldo is the kind of player who wants these kind of situations, and he's created one for himself, right, where he has to prove to the world he will, and you saw the kind of emotions that he was going through when he was singing the national anthem, when he played, when he was playing each goal he celebrated, and he really believes that it's Cristiano Ronaldo against the world, and that's when he's the most dangerous player in the world.
Yeah, I truly agree with you because for Cristiano Ronaldo, this is a very big game, and for Portuguese team as well. They've been Uruguay has never been a good opposition with the Portuguese team. They did knock them out in the last World Cup. They're not really come fighting against a team like Uruguay, so this is going to be their biggest challenge against a strong Uruguayan setup to come out there and to put in a shift. If they can really go on to do that today, I'm pretty sure they're going to have a very decent game, and I'm I can back that up by saying that uh, time and time again we've seen that the moment you get past a team who has been troubling you, then you go on to have a decent tournament or a tournament which many people won't even expect you to be having. So this is the tournament for them to really make it count and to make it count in a way where they will have to play their best football. You can say until now they've not really looked like they played their best football. They've created some moments of magic for sure, especially in that Ghanaian game. They did create the moment. They did create a couple of moments of magic, but at the same time, they did look extremely vulnerable at times as well. So it is a thing which Portugal will like to forget and to look forward, especially in a game like this. They will want their attackers to come in, especially with the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo. If he's going to convert his chances, if he can beat Godin and Jimenez in the back line and get into right spaces, I think he will test the Uruguayan goalkeeper because if you look at the Uruguayan goalkeeper, he's not the most experienced one. He did look extremely vulnerable even against the Korean team. Whenever he was pressed, he did look like a goalkeeper who will fumble at times. So Cristiano Ronaldo will keep that in mind, and with How Felix as well, the kind of pace How Felix will give you on the left hand side, and he can also cut in beautifully. And Nuno Mendes having a left back like Nuno Mendes, what you get is that his attacking prowess is extremely good. He can play as a winger in your team any day of the week, and he can also cover space in quick time. He can also make quick defensive runs so that that left hand region gets covered pretty quickly for Portugal. So I think Nuno Mendes will stay wide, and how Felix will look to cut in a lot more. So that's how Portugal will look to operate today.
Yeah, I mean, there's a slight update from now that the lineups have been officially released by FIFA on the broadcast. It is going to be a four. It's going to be a 4-3-3 rather than what I initially was had come across. So that is interesting. When that's pretty traditional as well. You would say it is Varela, Cavani, and Nunes who are going to be the attack for Uruguay, and then Bentancur, Valverde, and Vecino in the if I'm pronouncing it right, he will
Yeah.
he'll be in the middle, and then Oliveira, Coates, Godin, and Jimenez at the back. So this is a very fairly balanced team, you would say, and not much difference in terms of tactics, at least when it comes to formation. But obviously, there'll be a lot more, what do you say, in nitty gritties when it comes to certain players and the plans that the two coaches will have. But it seems like a balanced game. It's going to be a very interesting game, and we're just moments away from kickoff. In fact, I think the kickoff is already, the ball is already in play. So that's pretty much the cue for me and able to leave and let
I
you
think we
watch the
take some
match
questions
now.
before we leave because we've not been taking any
Yeah,
questions.
obviously, we did
So
not
I think
actually. Yeah.
Matthias, yeah, I personally think that's a fact. Kudus has had a very good season with Ajax, very underrated, one can say so. Not really made a lot of headlines, but then he has been putting in a shift in the Eredivisie set week in and week out, and especially in the Champions League as well. He's made his presence felt. Though Ajax is not qualified into the next round, but they had a tough group, right? They've got absolutely walloped by a Napoli team and also by Liverpool. They got walloped by the Napoli team twice in a week span where they considered 10 goals. But the fact is that Mohamed Kudus has been a silver lining in that team. But also to be talking about the way in which Shivani has mentioned that Ghana will qualify. Yeah, I think Ghana still has got a very good chance to qualify after today's win, especially they're in a pole position to qualify uh, alongside winner of today's game for sure. Then
Yeah.
Uruguay versus Ghana will be the match to watch out for. Whoever wins that game will be in driver's seat to qualify as well. So that's what Aisha talks about Mohamed Cruz's hair. Uh, yeah, absolutely. Priyanka says, though I'm supporting Portugal, I've got to feel that Portugal are losing tonight. I don't know. Talking again about how Portugal will be feeling today, or how Portugal will be going up. It all depends on how they can maintain that shape. Really play that free flowing football they played against Ghana, because that's what makes this Portugal team extremely attacking, because they're all very good ball players. So I don't think at any point they should feel like they should play a counter-attacking style of football, maintain a mid block or a low block and try to attack in the counter. That's not the kind of ability this team has got. Every player in this team are extremely attacking, starting from the very goalkeeper to the forward man in Cristiano Ronaldo. Every player is extremely attacking, and all very good ball players. They can play a highly possessional based game. They can keep a high line of defense as well, because especially with Ruben Diaz, you can have a good ball playing defender in him, and also Nuno Mendes and Cancelo. You can really have the wing back who are extremely threatening as well. So I think Portugal should look to attack a lot more in this game rather than going the negative way. You know what England did after their first game; they went on to disappoint. I hope that's not the case with Portugal.
Yeah, I mean, Ronaldo fans will be hoping the same. We will, but thank you, John. For joining once again with us. Also, thank you all of you for your questions and for watching along with us. And participating in the review overall. We hope this is the next match is going to even up, because it's been two exciting matches. An exciting draw to start off with. There obviously have been a very close contest in all three matches so far, and let's hope this one ends the day on a high, as you would say. But thank you once again for all of you for joining us. Before I leave you, make sure to download and play the Boomer 11 app from Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Thank you, guys.
Bye bye, guys. Have a good time, all of you.